Getting to grips with remote selling. Hello and welcome to Uncommon Insights, where you will learn uncommon and often counterintuitive ideas that will help to dramatically accelerate your sales success. Today's topic is all about getting to grips with remote selling. I'm getting contacted by CEOs and sales leaders that I've worked with who are telling me that many of their salespeople are struggling to get to grips with selling in a virtual environment, whether that's over video technologies like Zoom, Skype, Microsoft Teams, WebEx and more, or just managing their relationships via phone and when they're not able to meet customers face to face. Personally, I've been selling virtually since before 2010, so I guess it's a decade now. Wow, that went quickly. Of how to sell large enterprise-sized deals and smaller transactional deals, actually, using both the phone or in video technologies. And here's what I've learnt in that time. It's the prepared prevail. So a lot of the challenges and when I'm having diagnostic conversations, these sales leaders and CEOs are telling me that their salespeople just don't seem to know how to run or structure these conversations, particularly their first conversations with net new customers that they've never talked with before. So in order to be helpful and valuable to the community of salespeople, sales leaders and CEOs that I've worked with, I've built a first call or conversation guide to help salespeople navigate these challenging times and really get to grips with remote selling. So if you're finding that your salespeople are struggling with remote selling and are quite frankly missing out on the chemistry that happens when you meet another human being face to face, whether that's 4 feet across from a conference table or over a lunch somewhere, this is a tool that could be very, very helpful to you and really help to make your salespeople's virtual conversations that more effective. Now, excuse me, I need to put on my glasses here as I quickly run through what you can expect from this first call or call guide document. This is all about having a really, really comprehensive plan that once executed will help to apply over every other conversation that they have. It will give them the kind of structure that they need to know how to run these sales calls highly effectively. The first thing, how to get very, very clear on the end in mind for the conversation, depending on where you're at in the sales cycle. There is a different end in mind for the first conversation that you ever have with a customer to a conversation that you're having when you're 2 or 3 calls into a client. So clarity around what is your end in mind, or what do you want the prospective customer to do or decide at the end of the call together. The second thing is, how do you open the conversation in a natural way that frames the conversation for success? What are the high value and business orientated discovery questions that your salesperson is going to ask to keep that first call at a high level? Stop diving down in the weeds around solution, product, feature and function, but talk to the client about their business objectives and what their success, outcomes, impact on results look like, and then dive down into more feature, function, criteria based questioning if you jointly decide that it's a good fit to keep the conversation going. What are the customer questions? What are they likely to ask you? And what are your prepared responses to those predictable questions that you will get asked? What are the additional insights or ideas that you can share with the potential buyer, which will help them think differently about the particular challenges that they're facing or the objectives that they're looking to achieve? What about objections? In my experience, many salespeople only have 1 or 2 ways of handling objections. Preparing through a document, whether individually or as a team, will help to create 2 or 3 additional ways of handling particular objections. And we all know that the person with more variety or behavioral flexibility will always be in control of any given situations. Here's one that people miss all the time. So we've just had a conversation. What are the next steps? What's the next action? When do we meet next? who else needs to be involved in this conversation, and when can we get to meet with them. Leaving a conversation without establishing some concrete next steps is the fastest way to slow down your sales cycles, because they'll just drag and drag and drag. So making sure you've got next steps set as well. What about preconditioning your calls? This is a skill and a technique that only a very few of the highest performing sales organizations that I've worked with ever do. And this starts when you actually send through your meeting invitation with your agenda. So how do you precondition and already get the prospective customer's mind thinking about doing business with you? And then how do you lay out an agenda that is mutually valuable, that creates value for them and for you at the same time? Now, having a blank call plan like this is all well and good, and a lot of salespeople tell me, but Matt, what does good look like? So if you are interested in getting a lot more effective with your virtual sales calls, I've actually created a list of objection handling techniques, a list of opening statements, a list of how do you frame insights, statements and questions that will help your salespeople to really, really impress on these virtual calls. Now, the examples that I've given here are using some of the finest persuasive and influence techniques from leading neuropsychologists, and indeed some of the foremost leading hypnotherapists, to make sure that the language being used is absolutely maximal, and I'm not even sure if that's a word, it is absolutely effective and really helps to drive positive outcomes for you and your sales teams. So if you'd like to get hold of a copy of this first call and call guide, please do get in contact with me. My email is matt, M-A-T-T, at matthewconway.com, and that's Matthew with 2 T's. Look forward to talking. Cheerio. Bye-bye.